And when a member of the WNBA media starts going in and giving unbiased opinions about certain players in the league, it does feel a little erroneous, considering that people go to these members of the WNBA media for unbiased, statistical information. If you're wondering who I'm talking about, it is none other than Natalie Esquire.
Did an NBC reporter just land themselves in hot water by disrespecting Caitlin Clark on Twitter? Oh, you better believe it. And let's just say the backlash was swift and unforgiving.
It sure as heck does not surprise me, but I gotta say, an unbiased WNBA legacy reporter is not.
We all know Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a game changer. She's redefining women's basketball, shattering records, and drawing unprecedented attention to the WNBA. Yet, despite her impact, some people just can't resist downplaying her success. But this time, the backlash was swift and brutal. Fans weren't having it, and Twitter erupted. Let's break down exactly what happened and why this reporter might already be regretting their words.
As common as you might think. So according to this post that she put up on social media, Natalie Esquire says, Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the WNBA. That hasn't changed because she has a down year returning from injury.
It all started with a single tweet, just one sentence from NBC reporter Natalie Esquire, and the internet went into a frenzy. At this point, it's almost a pattern. Every time Caitlin Clark achieves something remarkable, a certain segment of the sports media either downplays her accomplishments or tries to shift the conversation entirely. And this time was no different.
So I am assuming that Natalie Esquire posted this because a lot of people were questioning Chelsea Gray because she was coming back from an injury that made her very slow, and it did hurt her game a lot. But when you post something like this, it makes a lot of people go in and just go into receipts because this is quite a proof.
NBC reporter Natalie Esquire, who already has a history of taking shots at Caitlin Clark, sparked controversy once again with a single tweet. She claimed that Chelsea Gray was the best point guard in the WNBA on the surface. That might not seem like a big deal. Gray is a phenomenal player, a proven champion, and an experienced veteran. But the way Esquire framed her tweet made it clear that this wasn't just about praising Gray. It was about dismissing Clark entirely. And fans weren't having it. What made matters worse was the timing. Esquire's tweet came right as Clark was putting up some of the best numbers in the league. Meanwhile, Gray had been dealing with injuries and wasn't even playing at an elite level at that moment. The idea that she was still the best point guard just didn't add up. It felt like a forced narrative, and fans weren't about to let it slide. The backlash was instant. Within minutes, Twitter was on fire with replies, quote tweets, and receipts. People weren't just disagreeing, they were bringing facts. One of the most common responses was simple. If Gray was truly the best, why didn't the numbers back it up?
Let's get into the stats. First, we'll pull up the best point guard in the WNBA, objectively, Caitlin Clark. In her one professional season in the WNBA, Caitlin Clark came away with an average of 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds for the season. Now, let's check out Chelsea Gray's stats. So, according to Natalie Esquire, she had an off season last season with coming back from injury, and in last season, she had averaged, what did she average? 8.
In her rookie season, Caitlin Clark was putting up nearly 20 points per game while leading the league in assists. Her ability to orchestrate an offense, stretch the floor, and create plays for her teammates was unmatched. Even veteran defenders struggled to contain her, despite it being just her first year.
Chelsea Gray averaged 8.6 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 4.9 assists. And again, let's give her some grace because she did come back from an injury. But let's check out the year before, and this is when the Las Vegas Aces had won the championship. She did average 15.3 points a game, not bad, right? She averaged 4 rebounds and 7.3 assists, and that's good, but it still is not better.
Meanwhile, Chelsea Gray, though a respected player, wasn't producing at the same level. Even in her best season, she hadn't matched the numbers Clark was already putting up. Yet, according to Esquire, that didn't seem to matter.
Caitlyn is not a victim as a rookie. But then when you also elbow people and then you keep on talking all the way down the court, like, you're not a victim. So then for you to go into the post game and be like, yeah, well, I don't want to retaliate. Like, I know people are going to come for me and I just got to let it be what it is. But the people that retaliate are the ones that get in trouble.
Like, Caitlyn, you're weaponizing how people view you and are talking about you when you say something like that. F around and find out. Kennedy is an isolated incident. That little shoulder bump, It was not that serious. You fell down, the first thing you did is, and you look to the damn refs to give you what? That's what happened. And you look, and that's what she always does, right? She's always falling to the floor, and then people acting like it's mad hard. It's like, pay attention to what she did in college. I would say that her coach did not do a good job preparing her for the physicality of what was to come and what to expect in the WNBA.
Natalie Esquire, who already had a history of downplaying Caitlin Clark's impact, found herself at the center of yet another controversy. This time, it all started with a single tweet. She claimed that Chelsea Gray was the best point guard. In the WNBA, a statement that on its own might not have been controversial. After all, Gray is a talented player, a champion, and a respected veteran. But it was the way Esquire framed her tweet that set off a firestorm. It wasn't just about praising Gray, it was about dismissing Clark entirely. And fans weren't having it. What made things worse was the timing. Esquire's tweet came as Clark was putting up some of the best numbers in the league. In her rookie season, Clark was averaging nearly 20 points per game while leading the league in assists. Her ability to run an offense, stretch the floor, and create opportunities for her teammates was unmatched. Even veteran defenders struggled to guard her. Meanwhile, Gray, while still an elite player, was dealing with injuries and wasn't performing at her peak. The idea that she was still the best point guard in the league simply didn't add up, and that's when fans started pushing back hard. It wasn't just about this one tweet. It was about a pattern. People began pulling up old receipts, exposing how Esquire had been downplaying Clark's success for months. This wasn't just a one-time bad take. It was clear, consistent bias. One of the most damning examples? A past tweet where Esquire accused Clark of stat padding when she was on the verge of breaking an assist record. Think about that. Point guard setting up teammates and distributing the ball was being called selfish. That take alone proved that Esquire's issue wasn't about objectivity. It was about personal bias. And once the internet gets hold of something like that, it's over. Esquire's tweet was instantly flooded with replies, quote tweets, and receipts. Fans weren't just disagreeing. They were coming with facts. The most common response? If Gray is the best, why don't the numbers back it up? Instead of acknowledging the criticism, Esquire made the worst possible move. She doubled down. She started arguing with fans, replying to tweets, and making herself look even worse. Then came the moment that truly sealed her fate, her now infamous response. I am the media. Oh boy, that was not the flex she thought it was. With that one statement, Esquire exposed herself completely. This wasn't about facts. It wasn't about stats. It wasn't even about basketball. It was about ego. She wasn't trying to have a real conversation. She just wanted to prove she was right, even when all the evidence said otherwise. And Twitter ate it up. Memes started pouring. In screenshots of her past tweets resurfaced. Compilation threads exposed every time she had tried and failed to discredit Clark. Even some of her own followers turned against her. That's when you know you've lost. At this point, the backlash had spiraled out of control. And then came the most predictable move of all. Esquire started by deleting tweets. Instant regret had officially set in. But by then, it was too late. The internet never forgets. Screenshots were everywhere, receipts had been filed, and the damage to her credibility was permanent. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark? She was too busy dominating, on the court to even acknowledge the drama. And that's what made this situation even funnier. While Esquire was melting down on Twitter, Clark was out there, hooping, letting her game do the talking. This entire situation highlights a bigger issue in sports media. Why is there so much resistance to giving Clark the credit she deserves? She's everything the WNBA should want in a star: skilled, marketable, and bringing millions of new eyes to the league. And yet, certain media members seem determined to downplay her success at every turn. They say she's just a shooter. She drops a double-double with assists and rebounds. They say she can't handle physical defense. She bulks up and starts finishing through contact. They say she's not the best point guard. She leads the league in assists as a rookie. At what point does this stop being analysis and just become horrid denial? That's why Esquire's tweet backfired so badly, because the basketball community is smarter than ever. Fans watch the games, they see what's happening, and they won't just accept lazy narratives anymore. So, after hours of getting roasted, deleting tweets, and getting ratioed beyond repair, what did Esquire do? She did what most people in her position do. She went silent. No more responses, no more doubling down. Just silence. And that silence was the loudest admission of defeat possible, because if she truly believed in what she was saying, she wouldn't have deleted her tweets. She wouldn't have disappeared. She would have stood by her words. But she didn't. And that tells you everything. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark remains unbothered. She's out there putting up numbers,